a long time. 70% of eighth graders are not proficient in either reading or in math.
This is a fail.
Oh my God.
Focus on this is a lot of people are asking questions. Why is Trump getting rid of the Department of Education? A lot of people have said that when people say that I don't like the way Trump's doing it, I get he wants to shrink the government, but why is he just getting rid of the Board of Education or the Department of Education? A lot of people not sure why. Perhaps this will shine some light on it. But one thing that I will say, just to preface the entire conversation, is that do we live, maybe let me ask a question. Let me not say it. No statements, questions. Is it because we live in such a society that rewards losing, rewards poor effort, rewards not based on merits, participation, all these different things? Because I would say that we live in the majority of us live in a non-performance based, we live with a non-performance based mindset. Now, there's a lot of people that have jobs where you don't get paid based on your direct performance. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the mindset of the entitlement that comes with, I do not need to perform at any particular standard in order for me to continue being rewarded with a job. And let's look at the video, and then maybe you guys will be on the same page as me, or maybe you'll enlighten me to get on the same page as you.
45 years, the United States spends more money on education by far than any other country, and spends likewise by far more money per pupil than any country, and it's not even close. But yet we rank near the bottom of the list in terms of success.
All right. I'm going to play that part again. Very short, very simple. We are complaining, and this is what you know what's so funny? A lot of the same people that are complaining about the Board of Education or the Department of Education, I got to be very clear in my words. I don't want to confuse anybody. A lot of people complaining about the Department of Education and Trump getting rid of it. Y'all are the same people that complain about the Department of Education not serving our kids, not doing a good job of educating our young kids, developing them in some of their most critical years when it comes to an education that they can apply to be successful in life. A lot of y'all have no problem complaining about these organizations. You complain about their lack of performance. You complain that there's no accountability when it comes to a lot of the education system throughout the country. We make those complaints, but then when somebody comes in and finally says, all right, we're getting rid of it. It's not working. We've tried to mold it. We've tried to change it. We've tried to fix it. We've tried all these other things except trying to get rid of it and give it back to the states. I don't understand that. I really don't understand that. And there's a lot of people that say, well, I would do it a different way. How you do it a different way? How long does it not have to? How long can we keep trying to make something work before we realize, like, yo, this just ain't it? I'm not talking about relationship advice. I'm talking about Donald Trump and the Department of Education. How long do we have to continue trying something? The signs are there. The red flags were there from the beginning. All right. And now it's not getting any better. Matter of fact, it's been getting worse. And the more we invest in it, we're not seeing a return on that investment. You heard Donald Trump say, out of all the money that we put into the Department of Education, why are we coming in these terrible positions? I'm not going to say coming in last, but why are we so far behind when it comes to other countries, when it comes to the development of our children? Why?
The United States spends more money on education by far than any other country, and spends likewise by far more money per pupil than any country, and it's not even close. But yet we rank near the bottom of the list in terms of success.
All right, let me read this. U.S. President Donald Trump signed an executive order to begin eliminating the federal Department of Education. And I think a lot of the complaints are coming with being scared as to what happens next. We claim that the department is a big con job last week. The move will disrupt federal funding for K through 12 schools and student loans. Congress would need to approve the move, but Democratic support is unlikely.
When President Carter created the Federal Education Department in 1979, it was opposed by members of his own cabinet, as well as the American Federation of Teachers, the New York Times editorial board, and the famed Democrat Senator Daniel Patrick Moynihan. History has proven them right, absolutely right. After 45 years, the United States spends more money on education by far than any other country, and spends likewise by far more money per pupil than any country, and it's not even close. But yet we rank near the bottom of the list in terms of success. It's an amazing stat. Those are two stats you don't want. The most money spent per pupil, and you're at the bottom of the list. And that's where we are, like it or not, and we've been there for a long time. 70% of eighth graders are not proficient in either reading or in math. 70%. 40%.
70% of eighth graders are not proficient in reading or math. I did not say that 70% are proficient. And maybe I heard that wrong.
Been there for a long time. 70% of eighth graders are not proficient in either reading or in math.
This is a fail. This is a failure. Matter of fact, and you know what usually happens? See, what usually happens, let's relate it to sports, because y'all know what I always do. You're on a team. Now, the executives are responsible for what players they pick and, what coaches they pick, the entire staff. Okay, the direction of the team. You start losing. What usually happens? Oh, no, we got to start trading these players. The focus is on the players. Trade some players and you're still losing. Focus starts to be like, let's look at some of these coaches. Let's look at this head coach. Head coach may end up getting fired. They're still losing. Let's look at this general manager. So it usually goes from the bottom up instead of the top down. It usually goes from the bottom up. Being in organizations and on teams, I would think that there would be a certain level of appreciation, right? And we always associate Donald Trump with being an elitist, right? Okay, we say he's an elitist. I appreciate Donald Trump realizing, like, at a certain point, you got to look at the leadership. You can go into a small town, you can go into a big city, you can fire these teachers, you can do this, but when the leadership and the culture is off, when the standards that are created by the people at the top, when the other people are not living up to those standards, eventually you got to look at the leadership. So Donald Trump is actually just getting rid of the leadership, getting rid of the top of the umbrella. You know what I mean? He's, rather than just picking and choosing based on and blaming the teachers, he's getting rid of the Department of Education. He's putting it back in the states. He's localizing it as far as how I'm seeing it. The people at the top who oversee everything, no. We need people that are closer to the states, closer to the cities, I should say, closer to the districts that these people are serving in, these teachers. But maybe I'm seeing it wrong. I don't know. Maybe I'm seeing it a little bit wrong. I don't know. Maybe I'm just looking at it too favorable with this. But if it's not working, if it hasn't been working, if it's not serving the students, then why are you more upset with him getting rid of the Department of Education than you were at it failing our kids? And when a Department of Education fails kids, when you have eighth graders who can't read and write, where do we think that those eighth graders are going to end up? And for all those people that are passionately fighting for the impoverished communities, in impoverished communities, it's even worse. If you take 70% of eighth graders and they can't read or write, or read or do math in a impoverished community, where do you think the majority of those kids are going to end up?
70%. 40% of fourth graders lack even basic reading skills, can't read. Students in our public elementary and middle schools score worse in reading today than when the department opened, by a lot. In Baltimore, 40% of the high schools have 0 students who can do basic mathematics. Not even the very...
In Baltimore, 40% of the students, no, 40% of the schools, wait, what did he just say?
Opened, by a lot. In Baltimore, 40% of the high schools have 0 students who can do basic mathematics.
In Baltimore, 40% of the high schools have 0 students that can do basic math. Baltimore. But they got a black mayor, right? They got a black mayor. They got a black mayor. Ew, y'all know what it is. It's Dak from the OG Network. And I just want to thank y'all. That's right, to thank y'all for all of your tremendous support over the years, whether you've been rocking with us from the beginning or maybe this is the first show that you're checking out on the network. We want to thank you nonetheless. And we have an ask, all right? We have a goal of reaching 20,000 subscribers by the end of March. That's right, 20K by the end of March. It's not a real goal unless you put a date on it. And with that, we need your help. So we ask that if you are enjoying the content that you like, subscribe if you haven't already. And if you're feeling real generous, maybe share with some friends and family. All right, I'll let y'all go. And once again, thank you for your continued support. And we look forward to growing with y'all. See y'all soon. Ew. Right, it's DEI, so we got to protect Baltimore. We can't call out their leadership because then we'd be calling out the leadership of a black man and a black man who's going through different things in this country, and we suffer from oppression. Y'all get where I'm going. At a certain point, it's like we'll be happy with symbolism, even if it means it's failing our children from developing and growing into productive adults. This one is one for me. Like, if we're gonna have the fight, then the fight should be, I mean, what are we really opposing? The fact that people lost their jobs, and Donald Trump, I don't know if he said it here, but he said, a lot of these people, it's sad, a lot of these people are good people that are losing their jobs. But you know what? There's a lot of good people that I saw getting cut on football teams that based on performance. It is what it is. Like there's, do you have more sympathy and empathy for the adults that are getting fired, or do you have more sympathy and empathy for the kids, the children that are trusting this Department of Education to teach them, to educate them so that they can be productive adults? But they're failing. 40% of the high schools in Baltimore, you just heard him say this, the kids can't do math. Was it reading or math? I think it was math. Y'all heard it.
Not even the very simplest of mathematics. I said, give me your definition of basic. And they're talking about like adding a few numbers together. Despite these breathtaking failures, the department's discretionary budget has exploded by 600% in a very short period of time, and employs bureaucrats in buildings all over Washington, D.C. And as a former real estate person, I will tell you, I ride through the streets of Washington and it says Department of Education, Department of Education. I said, how do you fill those buildings? It's crazy what's happened over the years. I'm pleased to report that after offering these federal employees 2 generous buyout options, and they were very generous, and they're good people, but they were very generous. My administration has initiated a reduction in force, and we're already cutting numbers that were really surprising to a lot, that we were able to do it so successfully. And we've cut the number of bureaucrats in half. 50% have taken office, which is great.
Wow, in half, that's a lot. That's a lot. Steve wrote, I get why we need to make deep and meaningful changes to bloated, inefficient bureaucratic departments like DOE is a vital operation. But what backups have been put in place? That's a good question. That's a good question. Are the states ready for that full responsibility to be put back on them? I'll be honest, Steve. At a certain point, you got to throw somebody in the game. At a certain point, you're on the football team, and you've been a backup for a very long time, and to the point where you don't even prepare for games, right? You're the backup. Matter of fact, you're the third quarterback. You can just chill, relax, nobody's stressing on you. You don't even know what the game plan is, or maybe you do. That's one side of it. But now you got to get thrown in the game because the first two quarterbacks went down. So regardless of whether or not, we need to find out what we have in that third quarterback. We need to put you in the game to find out if you've been preparing the way that you should be preparing. What do the coaches always tell us? You need to prepare as if you're a starter. Even if you're the backup, you need to prepare as if you're the starter, because all it takes is one injury. You go down, now you're thrown in the game, and the rest of the team is depending on you. Now, did you do your due diligence to prepare for this moment? We'll never know unless you get thrown in the game. Now, the example that I gave is somebody not preparing. Another example is somebody who does prepare. Somebody who did the due diligence, somebody who actually prepared. They watched film. They studied with some of the older cats. They made sure that when that opportunity presented itself, they were ready to take advantage of it. Now, we need to find out either way. We need to find out what type of player we have on the team. We need to find out if the states are ready. It's not fair to the kids, in my opinion. It's not fair to the kids, in my opinion, when you're allowing, or you don't want to make a decision. You have a system that's failing the kids. But now, and I'm not saying that you're saying this at all, Steve. I'm not saying, and I don't think that you're saying this. It's not fair to the kids, in my opinion, to say, well, we're not going to get rid of the Department of Education because the state that these people get paid to actually do these things, we're not sure if they can actually do their jobs that we're paying them to do. The way I look at it, a lot of these superintendents, they're making some good money. I mean, I don't know about across the board in all school systems. I know the one that Montclair growing up is obviously one of the better school systems with funding, I believe. So people got to earn their money. People got to earn their money. And in my opinion, I think that more people will probably, when you put people in a position to where their standard, where more is demanded from them, I think that they'll perform better. I think they'll perform better. And either way, it's a necessary step. If they fail, then what do we have to lose? Like Trump said to black people a while ago, Democrats haven't done anything. What do you have to lose? What do you have to lose by trying something different? By putting it on the responsibility of the people who should be closer to the actual districts that are teaching. The states should have better relationships rather than just a blanket Department of Education with from a federal standpoint. In my opinion, just my opinion though. Maya wrote, what happens to Pell Grants and any other loans aid that college students receive federally? Isn't that from the DOE? That's an amazing question, Bub. And I think Donald Trump is going to answer you in this video. So let's keep watching a little bit, because I think that he's going to answer your question. And I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. Steve wrote, I get you. I just want to know if we have a backup on the bench. Yeah, I don't know. Well, no, I know we have a backup on the bench. I know that we have a backup on the bench. I just don't know how they're going to perform. The states, we have so many, like all right, so I've dealt with the Department of Education in New Jersey before and spoken to certain people about different programs. There's a lot of people. There's more than enough people that are in positions to where, in my opinion, they can handle more responsibility. Now, that may not be the case, but what's so amazing about it is, let's say that certain districts need more. We'll figure that out. Because some districts may end up needing more support and more help. And they should be able to ask the federal government for that support. Other districts may not be needing the help. So I guess we'll definitely have to see. But with anything new, with change, with anything new, we're going to have to, it's a risk. It's a risk. Any change comes with a certain level of risk. In my opinion, it's worth risking, but we'll see. We'll see. Now, of course, we want to make sure that that risk is as small as possible. But 40% of Baltimore kids, 40% of Baltimore high schools, let me say it again, 40% of Baltimore high schools have 0 kids that can do math at their grade level. That's insane to me. So I don't know how much worse it can get, to be totally honest. Shy in the building. What's up, Shy? As you're joining, please make sure that you like, and subscribe. We appreciate you joining us. All right, let's keep going. And like I said, I believe that Trump's going to answer your question, Maya.
Thank you. Under the action I am taking today, a small handful of Democrats and others that we have employed for a long time, and there are some Republicans, but not too many, I have to be honest with you. But the department's useful functions, and such as, and they're in charge of them, Pell Grants, Title I funding, resources for children with disabilities and special needs will be preserved, fully preserved. They're all going to be so. If you look at the Pell Grants, it's supposed to be a very good program. Title I funding and resources for children with special disabilities and special needs, they're going to be preserved in full and redistributed to various other agencies and departments that will take very good care of them. And that's very important to Linda, I know, and it's very important to all of us. But
let me play it again. Let me play it again so everybody hears it. So everything he said, everything will be preserved as far as the Pell Grants, these other grants that he was referring to. We'll see.
One funding and resources for children with special disabilities, fully preserved. They're all going to be so. If you look at the Pell Grants, it's supposed to be a very good program. Title I funding and resources for children with special disabilities and special needs, they're going to be preserved in full and redistributed to various other agencies and departments that will take very good care of them. And that's very important to Linda, I know, and it's very important to all of us. But beyond these core necessities, my administration will take all lawful steps to shut down the department. We're going to shut it down and shut it down as quickly as possible. It's doing us no good. We want to return our students to the states where just some of the governors here are so happy about this. They want education to come back to them, to come back to the, you know, if you look, Denmark, Norway, Sweden, I have to tell you, I give them a lot of credit. China's top 10. And so we can't now say that bigness is making it impossible to educate, because China is very big. But you have countries that do a very good job in education. And I really believe, like some of the governors here today, from states that run very, very well, including a big state like Texas, but states that run very well are going to have education that will be as good as Norway, Denmark, Sweden, and those top, Finland, those top countries that do so well with education. I think they'll do every bit as well.
Hopefully there's also some, competition added to it, right? Between these governors. Hopefully there can be some competition added. So hopefully you got your question answered, Maya. And hopefully now you're a Trump supporter. Hopefully now you're a Trump supporter. He said he's keeping the Pell Grant. So that was your concern. So I guess we all good now, right? We all good. All right. It's Dak. Just want to thank you for checking out our video and visiting the OG Network. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure that you give us a like. And if you're looking to join a community of inspired individuals striving for purposeful abundance, subscribe. And if you're feeling real generous, share the video with some friends and family. All right. I'll see y'all soon. Ew.